Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, watching the stars through the main view screen. The ship had been traveling through this quiet part of space for 3 days now. They were heading back to Earth after a successful mission to the outer colonies. Everything seemed peaceful and normal. That changed when Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks looked up from her station with worry in her eyes. "Captain, I'm picking up something on long-range sensors. Multiple contacts approaching our position." Jake walked over to her station and looked at the screen. Several red dots were moving toward them at high speed. "How many ships are we talking about, Lisa?" 12 vessels, sir. They're big ones, too. Much larger than anything in our fleet." Lisa's fingers moved quickly across her controls. "They'll reach us in about 10 minutes. Jake nodded and pressed a button on his chair. "All hands, this is the captain. We have unknown vessels approaching. All crew report to stations. This is not a drill." The bridge came alive with activity. Officers rushed to their posts and began running checks on all systems. Chief Engineer Pete Collins called from the engine room. "Captain, all systems are green. We're ready for whatever comes next." "Good work, Pete. Keep everything running smooth down there." Jake turned to his science officer. "Amy, what can you tell me about these ships?" Dr. Amy Turner was already studying. "Her sensors. They're using technology I don't recognize, Captain. The hull design is unlike anything in our databases. But they're definitely artificial. Someone built these ships." Jake felt his heart beat faster. This could be humanity's first contact with alien life. He had trained for this moment his whole career, but now that it was here, he felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "Captain, they're slowing down," Lisa reported. "They're taking positions around us. We're surrounded." Jake looked at the tactical display. The alien ships had formed a perfect circle around the Defiance. They were clearly military vessels, bristling with what looked like weapon systems. But they hadn't fired yet, which was a good sign. "They're hailing us, sir," said Communications Officer Ron Davis. "Put them on screen, Ron." The main view screen flickered and showed the interior of an alien bridge. The creature standing in the center was tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. When it spoke, the universal translator made its words clear. "I am Fleet Commander Vexstar of the Zephyrian Collective. You will identify yourselves immediately." Jake stepped forward. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Terran Federation ship, USS Defiance. We come in peace." Vexstar made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peace? You primitive creatures know nothing of peace. You will prepare to be boarded for inspection. Your vessel and crew now belong to the Zephyrian Empire." "I'm afraid I can't allow that," Jake said calmly. "We are peaceful explorers, but we won't submit to hostile actions." "Hostile?" Vexstar's eyes seemed to glow brighter. "You misunderstand your situation, human. We have studied your pathetic technology. Your weapons are weak. Your shields are basic. Your engines are slow. You cannot resist us." Jake felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice steady. "Perhaps we could discuss this like civilized beings. There's no need for threats. There will be no discussion. You have one choice: surrender now or be destroyed." Vexstar leaned forward. "We will begin scanning your vessel to catalog your primitive systems. Do not attempt to interfere." The screen went dark. Jake turned to his crew. "Lisa, are they scanning us?" "Yes, sir. Multiple sensor beams hitting our hull. They're being very thorough." Lisa paused and looked at Jake with a small smile. "But they're only seeing what we want them to see." Jake nodded. The Defiance, like all modern human warships, was equipped with adaptive camouflage systems. The aliens would only detect the decoy technology designed to make human ships appear less advanced than they really were. "Let them scan," Jake said. "Pete, are our real systems still hidden?" Completely invisible, Captain. They think we're running on basic fusion power and simple projectile weapons. They have no idea what we're really capable of. Jake sat down in his captain's chair and watched the alien ships on the tactical display. The Zephyrians were making the same mistake that many enemies had made before. They were judging humans by appearance alone. How long until they finish? Their scans? Jake asked. About 5 more minutes, sir, Lisa replied. Good. That gives us time to prepare. Amy, I want a full analysis of their ships. Lisa, target solutions on all 12 vessels. Pete, bring our real systems online, but keep them hidden. Ron, record everything for the historical record. The crew worked quickly and quietly. Jake watched the alien ships and wondered if they had any idea what they had just walked into. Probably not. Most species in the galaxy seemed to think that newer technology was always better technology. They were about to learn that humans had a different way of thinking about such things. The Zephyrians were about to get a very unpleasant surprise. Fleet. Commander Vextar stood in the center of his command ship, watching as his science teams finished their scans of the human vessel. The bridge was filled with the soft glow of alien technology, and dozens of crew members worked at stations that hummed with energy. Report, Vextar commanded his science officer. Sub-Commander Krellix looked up from his scanning station with what passed for a smile on his gray face. The results are even better than we hoped, Commander. These humans are more primitive than our worst estimates. Vextar walked over to study the data himself. Show me what you found. Krellix pressed several buttons, and a display showed the human ship's internal structure. Look at this, Commander. They are still using basic fusion reactors for power. Our ships abandoned that technology over 2,000 years ago. Their energy output is pathetic. What about their weapons? Vextar asked. Even worse, Krellix laughed. They have simple projectile launchers, metal bullets fired by chemical explosions. Some basic energy weapons that produce less power than our emergency lighting systems. No plasma cannons, no particle beams, nothing that could threaten even our smallest scout ship. Vextar felt pleased. The Zephyrian collective had ruled this part of the galaxy for 5,000 years. They had conquered hundreds of worlds and absorbed dozens of alien species into their empire. Most species they encountered had some level of advanced technology, which meant battles and losses for his people. But these humans seemed to be barely out of their Stone Age. What about their defenses? Vextar wanted to know everything. Basic energy shields only, Krellix reported. The kind we used when we first learned to build starships. They couldn't stop a single shot from our main plasma batteries. Their hull armor is just thick metal plates. No adaptive materials, no energy absorption, nothing advanced at all. Another officer called out from across the bridge. Commander, I've finished analyzing their engine systems. Vextar turned to listen. What did you find, Irolanen? Simple fusion drive engines, Commander. They can probably reach maybe 1/10 of light speed at maximum. It would take them years to travel between star systems. Our slowest cargo ships move faster than their fastest warship. Vextar felt even better. Not only were these humans weak, they were also slow. Even if some of them escaped this encounter, they couldn't warn other human worlds in time to matter. The collective could take over human space at their leisure. How many crew members are on that ship? Vextar asked. Krellix checked his readings. Approximately 300 humans, Commander. A reasonable number for slave labor once we remove. Their officers. Perfect. Vextar walked back to his command chair. The leather-like material was made from the hide of creatures from his home world, and sitting in it always made him feel powerful. Open a channel to the other fleet commanders. The main screen showed the faces of his 11 subordinate commanders. Each one led a heavy cruiser filled with Zephyrian warriors, eager for conquest. My fellow commanders, Vextar began, the scans are complete. These humans are even weaker than we hoped. Their technology is thousands of years behind ours. This will not be a battle. It will be target practice. Commander Thaxel from the ship Void Crusher spoke first. Should we simply destroy them, Fleet Commander? No, Vextar replied. Their ship might have useful raw materials, and the humans themselves could be valuable as workers. We will demand their surrender first. If they refuse, we destroy their weapons and engines, then board them. Commander. Thelmoth from the Dark Star nodded. What if other human ships arrive? Vextar laughed. Look at their technology, Velmoth. Even if they have 100 ships like this one, they couldn't damage a single one of our vessels. Human space will be ours within a few months. The other commanders seemed pleased with this news. Easy conquests meant fewer losses and more glory. To go around. Meanwhile, aboard the USS Defiance, Chief Engineer Pete Collins was in the main engineering section deep inside the ship. He stood before a massive reactor that the aliens had completely missed in their scans. The reactor was the size of a small building and contained technology that made fusion power look like a campfire. How are we looking, Pete? Captain Morrison's voice came through the communication system. Perfect, Captain, Pete replied. Their scans didn't detect any of our real systems. The quantum reactor is running at standby. Power. The gravitational drive is ready to engage. All weapon systems are charged and waiting. Good work. Keep everything hidden until I give the word. Pete smiled as he looked at the alien ships on his display. They thought they were looking at primitive humans with basic technology. They had no idea that human science had taken a very different path than most species. While other races focused on bigger and more powerful energy weapons, humans had learned to manipulate the basic forces of the universe itself. The Zephyrians were about to learn a very hard lesson about underestimating their enemies. Fleet Commander Vextar sat back in his command chair and smiled. The scans were complete, and the results were better than he had hoped. These humans would be the easiest conquest in Zephyrian history. He decided it was time to make his demands clear. Open a channel to the human ship, he ordered. The main screen flickered and showed Captain Morrison standing on his bridge. The human looked calm, which amused Vextar. Soon that calm would turn to fear. Human Captain, Vextar began, his voice filled with authority. We have completed our analysis of your primitive vessel. You have exactly 1 hour to make your choice. What choice would that be? Morrison asked in a steady voice. Surrender your ship and crew to the Zephyrian Collective, and you will be treated well as our slaves. Your ship will become part of our fleet. Your people will work in our mines and factories. This is a generous offer considering how weak you are. Morrison was quiet for a moment. And if we refuse? Vextar's eyes glowed brighter. Then we will destroy your ship and everyone on it. Your deaths will serve as a warning to other human worlds about the price of defying us. I see, Morrison said. You're giving us 1 hour to decide? 1 hour, human. Use it wisely. Think about your crew. Think about their families. Surrender means life. Resistance means death. Vextar cut the communication and leaned back in his chair. Sub-Commander Krellix approached him. Do you think they will surrender, Fleet Commander? Of course they will, Vextar replied. What choice do they have? Their weapons cannot hurt us. Their shields cannot protect them. Their engines cannot outrun us. They are completely helpless. On the bridge of the USS Defiance, Captain Morrison turned to his senior officers. The alien communication had ended, but everyone had heard the demands clearly. Well, that was rude, said Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks. I don't think I like their attitude. Dr. Amy Turner was studying her sensor readings. Captain, I've been analyzing their ship designs while they were talking. They rely completely on energy-based systems. Plasma weapons, energy shields, ion drives. Everything they have runs on directed energy. What does that tell us? Morrison asked. They've never had to deal with kinetic weapons, sir. Look at their shield configurations. They're designed to deflect energy beams and particle streams. A simple metal projectile would pass right through them like they weren't even there. Chief Engineer Pete Collins spoke up from the engineering station. Captain, I've been studying their power signatures. Their ships are powerful, but they're also wasteful. They're pumping out 10 times more energy than they need for basic operations. It makes them easy to track and target. Morrison nodded. Lisa, what's your tactical assessment? Lisa studied her displays carefully. 12 heavy cruisers in a standard encirclement pattern. They're positioned to prevent escape, but they're also spread thin. If we were to engage them, we could take out 3 or 4 ships before the others could react and close formation. Any sign of more ships in the area? No, sir. These 12 appear to be operating alone. No backup, no support vessels. They're very confident. Morrison walked to the center of the bridge and looked at each of his officers. I want everyone to understand something. We didn't start this fight, but we're not going to run from it either. These aliens think they can enslave humanity because they believe we're weak. Are we going to prove them right? No, sir, came the reply from every officer on the bridge. Good. Amy, I want you to prepare a full tactical analysis of their ships. Find every weakness you can. Lisa, start plotting firing solutions on all 12 vessels. Pete, bring our real weapon systems online, but keep them hidden until I give the word. Ron, record everything for the historical record. The crew worked with quiet efficiency. They had trained for situations like this, though none of them had expected their first alien contact to be hostile. 20 minutes passed, then 30. The alien ships maintained their positions around the Defiance, waiting for the humans to make their choice. Captain, Amy called out, I'm detecting increased energy signatures from the alien ships. They're charging their weapons. They're getting impatient, Lisa observed. Standard intimidation tactic. Morrison checked the time. 45 minutes to go. They gave us an hour, so we'll use every minute of it. Keep working, everyone. Pete Collins called from engineering. Captain, all systems are ready. The moment you give the word, we can show these aliens what human technology really looks like. Morrison smiled. The Zephyrians thought they were dealing with primitives armed with metal bullets and basic shields. They were about to learn that human ingenuity had taken a very different path than most species in the galaxy, that the aliens wanted an answer. Morrison was going to give them one they would never forget. The hour was almost up. Fleet Commander Vextar watched the countdown timer on his display with satisfaction. In 3 minutes, the humans would have to give their answer. He was certain they would surrender. What else could they do? All ships, prepare to receive the human surrender, Vextar announced to his fleet. Ready boarding parties, and prepare to take control of their vessel. On the bridge of the USS Defiance, Captain Morrison looked at his crew. Everyone was ready. Amy had found 12 critical weak points in the alien ships. Lisa had targeting solutions locked on every enemy vessel. Pete had all systems charged and waiting. Ron was recording everything for history. Time's up, Captain, Lisa announced. Morrison pressed the communication button. Open a channel to the alien fleet commander. Vextar's face appeared on the main screen. His large black eyes seemed eager. Well, human? What is your decision? Morrison stood straight and looked directly at the alien commander. We've thought about your generous offer very carefully. And Vextar leaned forward in his chair. We decline. For a moment, Vextar just stared. Then his eyes began to glow brighter with anger. You refuse? You would choose death over serving. The collective? We choose freedom, Morrison replied calmly. Always. Vextar's face twisted with rage. Foolish humans. You have sealed your fate. All ships, open fire. Destroy them. The communication ended. Immediately, 12 alien ships began firing their plasma cannons. Bright green energy beams shot across space toward the USS Defiance. The energy blasts struck the human ship's shields. The bridge crew watched their displays as the alien weapons hit with tremendous force. But when the light faded, the Defiance was completely undamaged. On Vextar's ship, alarms began ringing. "Commander!" Krellix shouted in panic. "Our weapons had no effect. Their shields absorbed everything." "Impossible!" Vextar screamed. "Fire again! Maximum power!" All 12 ships fired again. This time they used their most powerful plasma cannons. The space around the Defiance lit up like a small sun as energy beams struck the human vessel. When the light cleared, the Defiance was still there, still undamaged, still waiting. "How is this possible?" Vextar demanded. "Our scans showed basic." "Shields!" Captain Morrison's voice came through the communication system. "Your scans showed you what we wanted you to see. Now let me show you what we really have." Morrison turned to his crew. "Pete, drop the camouflage. Show them our real ship." "With pleasure, Captain," Pete replied. Suddenly the USS Defiance began to change. Sections of the hull that had appeared smooth and simple began shifting and moving. Armor plates slid aside to reveal weapon ports that hadn't been there before. The ship itself seemed to grow larger as hidden sections decloaked and became visible. Within seconds, the vessel the aliens had thought was a simple exploration ship revealed itself to be a massive warship bristling with advanced weapons. "Impossible," Vextar whispered. "Where did those weapons come from?" Sub-Commander Krellix was frantically checking his sensors. "Commander, the ship is 3 times larger than we thought. The energy readings are off our scales. What we thought was their main reactor was just a backup power cell." On the Defiance's bridge, Morrison nodded to Lisa. "Commander Brooks, you may fire when ready." Lisa smiled, targeting the lead ship's main reactor. Railgun charged and ready. Fire. A section of the Defiance's hull opened, and a sleek weapon emerged. Instead of firing an energy beam like the alien weapons, it launched a solid metal projectile. The railgun accelerated a dense tungsten rod to nearly the speed of light. The projectile struck Vextar's ship in less than a second. It passed through the alien shields as if they weren't there, punched through the hull armor like paper, and hit the main reactor. Vextar's flagship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The remaining 11 alien ships sat frozen in space. Their commanders couldn't believe what they had just seen. Their most powerful vessel had been destroyed by a single shot from a weapon they didn't even understand. "All ships, retreat," came a panicked voice from one of the surviving vessels. "Belay that order," Morrison's voice cut through their communications. "You're not going anywhere." The aliens watched in horror as more sections of the human ship opened up. Dozens of weapon systems became visible. Each one was aimed at a different alien vessel. "Now then," Morrison continued, "let's discuss this situation like civilized beings. You wanted to enslave my people. You threatened to destroy my ship. You fired on us without provocation. Those were poor choices." Vextar was dead, but his surviving officers could hear every word. They realized they had made a terrible mistake. The humans weren't primitive at all. They had been hiding technology that made Zephyrian science look ancient. "What do you want?" asked Commander Thaxel from the Void Crusher. Morrison's voice was calm but firm. "First you're going to listen, then you're going to learn. And finally, you're going to carry a message back to your empire." The alien commanders waited in fear to hear what the humans would demand of them. The remaining 11 alien ships floated in space like wounded animals. Their commanders stared at the place where Vigstar's flagship had been just moments before. Now there was only empty space and floating debris. Commander Thaxile of the Void Crusher was the first to speak. His voice shook with fear. "Human Captain, we did not know. Our scans showed your ship was primitive." Captain Morrison's voice came through their communication systems. "Your scans showed you exactly what we wanted them to show. The question now is what happens next." On the bridge of the USS Defiance, Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks watched her tactical display. Every alien ship was targeted and ready to be destroyed. But she waited for orders from Captain Morrison. "Captain," Lisa said quietly, "all enemy vessels are locked on. We can finish this in 30 seconds. Morrison nodded but held up his hand. "Not yet, Lisa. Let's see what they do next." Dr. Amy Turner looked up from her science station. "Captain, I'm reading massive power fluctuations from the alien ships. Some of them are trying to charge their weapons again." "Which ones?" Morrison asked. 3 ships on the far side of the formation. The Dark Star, Bloodfang, and Ironclaw. Morrison's expression hardened. "They still don't understand." He opened a channel to those 3 ships. "Commanders of the Dark Star, Bloodfang, and Ironclaw, I can see you powering up your weapons. I strongly advise against that course of action." Commander Velmuth of the Dark Star responded angrily. "You destroyed our fleet commander. We will not surrender to primitive humans." "Then you will join him," Morrison replied calmly. "Lisa, demonstrate our point. Target the Dark Star's weapon systems only." Lisa's fingers moved across her controls, targeting their main plasma cannon arrays, firing micro railguns. The USS Defiance fired not one shot, but dozens of smaller projectiles. Each one was perfectly aimed at a specific weapon system on the Dark Star. The alien ship's guns exploded one by one in rapid succession. Within seconds, the vessel was completely disarmed, but still intact. "Your weapons are gone," Morrison announced. "Your shields are useless against our technology. Your armor cannot stop our projectiles. Do you understand now?" Commander Velmuth was silent. His weapons officer reported that every single gun on their ship had been destroyed with surgical precision. The humans could have killed them all, but instead they had chosen to simply remove their ability to fight. Commander Zarythan of the Bloodfang spoke up. We understand, human captain. We will power down our weapons." "A wise choice," Morrison replied. Chief Engineer Pete Collins called from the engineering section. "Captain, I'm detecting something interesting. More ships are approaching from deeper in space." Morrison frowned. "More aliens?" "No, sir. These are human ships. A lot of them." Amy Turner checked her long-range sensors. "Confirmed, Captain. I count at least 20 vessels approaching at high speed. They're using our latest stealth technology." Morrison smiled. The Defiance hadn't been alone after all. "Pete, can you identify the lead ship?" "Yes, sir. It's the USS Retribution. Admiral Karen Phillips is requesting permission to communicate." Morrison nodded. "Put her through." The main screen showed the bridge of a massive dreadnought. Admiral Phillips sat in the command chair, her gray hair pulled back and her eyes sharp with intelligence. "Hello, Jake," she said with a slight smile. "Having fun out here?" "Just meeting some new neighbors, Admiral. They're not very friendly." Admiral Phillips looked at the tactical display showing the alien ships. "So I see. Are these the ones who threatened to enslave humanity?" "The very same. Their leader is no longer with us, but the rest are having second thoughts about their plans. I imagine they are." Admiral Phillips turned to speak to someone off-screen. "Captain Ryan, bring the fleet into visual range. Let our new friends see what they're really dealing with." Within minutes, the space around the alien ships filled with human vessels. Cruisers, destroyers, and frigates appeared from nowhere as their stealth systems deactivated. The aliens found themselves surrounded by a full battle group. Commander Thaxel's voice was barely a whisper. "How many ships do you have in this immediate area?" "About 30, Morrison replied. "In human space overall." "Well, that's classified information." The alien commanders looked at their tactical displays in growing horror. Every human ship was more advanced than anything in their own fleet. The weapons they could see were clearly superior to Zephyrian technology. And these ships had appeared from nowhere, meaning human stealth capabilities were far beyond anything they had imagined. "What do you want from us?" asked Commander Rixnall of the Stormbringer. Morrison's voice became serious. "I want you to think very carefully about what has happened here. You came to our space uninvited. You threatened to enslave my people. You attacked my ship. And now you've learned that humanity is not as weak as you thought." "We made a mistake," Commander Thaxel admitted. "We judged your species by what our scans showed us. We were wrong." "Yes, you were. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" The alien commanders waited to hear what the humans would demand. They expected death or slavery, the same fate they had planned for humanity. Instead, they were about to learn something about human nature that would surprise them even more. The 11 remaining alien ships sat helpless in space, surrounded by 30 human vessels. Commander Thaxel of the Void Crusher felt his hands shaking as he stared at the tactical display. Every human ship was targeting his fleet. One word from Captain Morrison, and they would all be destroyed. "Human Captain," Thaxel said, his voice filled with despair. "We know we cannot fight you. We know we cannot escape. What are your terms for our surrender?" On the bridge of the USS Defiance, Captain Morrison looked at his crew. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks had her finger ready over the firing controls. Chief Engineer Pete Collins was monitoring the alien ships for any signs of tricks. Dr. Amy Turner was analyzing their technology for future reference. "Terms?" Morrison asked. "What makes you think we want your surrender?" The alien commanders were confused. Commander Rixnall of the Stormbringer spoke up. "You have defeated us. You could destroy us all. Surely you want us to submit to human rule, just as we wanted you to submit to ours." Morrison was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was thoughtful. "Is that what you would do if our positions were reversed?" "Of course," replied Commander Yellenox of the Starkiller. "The strong rule the weak. That is the way of the galaxy. We would make you our slaves or kill you all." "I see," Morrison said. "And how has that worked out for your people? How many enemies have you made with this philosophy?" Commander Thaxel thought about the question. The Zephyrian Collective had indeed made many enemies over the centuries. They were constantly fighting rebellions on conquered worlds. Other species hated them and attacked whenever they could. The Collective spent most of its resources fighting wars instead of building better lives for its people. "Many enemies," Thaxel admitted, "but we are strong. We have always won." "Until today," Morrison pointed out. "Today you met someone stronger. What does your philosophy say about that?" The alien commanders had no answer. Their entire way of thinking was based on being the strongest force in the galaxy. They had never considered what would happen if they met someone more powerful. Admiral Phillips spoke from her flagship. "Jake, what's the status of their weapons and engines?" Morrison checked with his crew. "Lisa, what's your analysis?" "The Dark Star is completely disarmed. The other 10 ships still have weapons, but they're powered down. All ships have functional engines, but they're not moving." "Any sign they're calling for backup?" Amy Turner shook her head. "No long-range communications detected, Captain." "They're not sending any messages." Morrison nodded. "Admiral, I believe they're genuinely defeated. The question is what we do with them." "Permission to come aboard the Defiance, Captain?" "I think this conversation needs to happen face to face." "Permission granted, Admiral." 20 minutes later, Admiral Phillips materialized on the bridge of the USS Defiance using a transport beam. The alien commanders watched this display of technology with growing amazement. Humans could move people through space instantly, something the Zephyrians had never learned to do. Admiral Phillips walked to the center of the bridge and looked at the alien ships on the main screen. So these are the ones who wanted to enslave humanity? Yes, ma'am, Morrison replied. They seemed to be having some regrets about that decision. Phillips opened a communication channel to all the alien ships. Zephyrian commanders, this is Admiral Karen Phillips of the Terran Federation. I understand you've learned something about human capabilities today. Commander Thaxel responded, Yes, Admiral. We were mistaken about your people. We thought you were weak and primitive. We were. Very wrong. Yes, you were. But I'm curious about something. Why did you assume we were weak, just because our technology looked different from yours? The alien commander thought about this. Because ... because that is how we judge all species. Those with weaker technology serve those with stronger technology. It has always been this way. Always? Phillips asked. Has it ever occurred to you that there might be different ways to measure strength? We do not understand, admitted Commander Rixnall. Phillips smiled. Let me give you an example. You have plasma weapons that can melt through most materials. Very impressive. But they're useless against kinetic shields. We have railguns that fire simple metal projectiles. Very basic technology, really. But they go right through your energy shields, like they're not even there. The aliens were silent as they considered this. You see, Phillips continued, you assume that newer technology is always better technology. You never considered that different. Approaches might have different advantages. You never thought that someone might choose a simpler solution that works better against your specific weaknesses. Commander Thaxel felt a growing sense of shame. We were arrogant. We thought we knew everything about warfare. And now you know better, Phillips said. The question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? The alien commanders waited to learn their fate, expecting slavery or death. They had no idea that humans were about to teach them something even more. Surprising than advanced technology. The alien commanders waited in silence for Admiral Phillips to announce their punishment. They had threatened humanity with slavery and death. They had attacked without warning. By every law of the galaxy they knew, they deserved to be destroyed or enslaved in return. Commander Thaxel closed his eyes and prepared for the worst. Crew looked at him with fear and shame. They had followed their leaders into this disaster, and now they would all pay the price. Commanders, Admiral Phillips said, her voice calm and steady, I'm going to make you an offer. Thaxel opened, his eyes in surprise. An offer? Yes, we're going to let you go. The alien commanders stared at their screens in shock. Commander Rixnall spoke first. Let us go? You mean you will not kill us? No, Captain Morrison said. We will not kill you. We will not enslave you. We will not take your ships or your people. You are free to return to your empire. But why? Asked Commander Yellenox. We attacked you. We threatened your people. We would have enslaved your entire species if we could have. Admiral Phillips smiled. Because that's not who we are. Humans don't believe that might makes right. We don't think the strong should rule the weak. We believe in something different. What do you believe in? Thaxel asked. We believe in giving people chances to do better, Morrison replied. We believe that enemies can become friends if they're willing to learn and change. Dr. Amy Turner spoke up from her science station. Admiral, should I prepare the data package? Yes, Amy. Send them everything. Turner began transmitting files to the alien ships. What is this? Commander Rixnall asked as his computers received the data. Complete technical specifications of our weapons and defenses, Turner explained. Everything you just saw demonstrated. Power outputs, firing rates, defensive capabilities. All of it. The aliens couldn't believe what they were hearing. You are giving us your military secrets? Thaxel asked. We're giving you information, Phillips corrected. What you do with it is up to you. But I want you to understand something very important. What is that? This is not our most advanced technology. The weapons and ships you've seen today are standard equipment for our patrol fleets. Our real military capabilities are far beyond what you've witnessed. Commander Thaxel felt his heart sink even further. If this was just standard human technology, what did their advanced systems look like? However, Phillips continued, we're not telling you this to threaten you. We're telling you this to help you make smart choices in the future. What choices? Asked Commander Rick NAL. Captain Morrison answered, the choice between war and peace. The choice between conquest and cooperation. The choice between making enemies and making friends. We don't understand, Commander Yelenox said. You could conquer our entire empire. Why don't you? Because we don't want to, Morrison replied. We have everything we need in our own space. We're explorers, not conquerors. We want to learn about other species, not rule them. Admiral Phillips leaned forward. But we will defend ourselves and our allies. Any species that threatens human worlds or attacks, our friends will face the full might of the Terran Federation. That's not a threat. That's a promise. What do you want us to tell our leaders? Axel asked. Tell them the truth, Phillips said. Tell them that humanity is stronger than they thought. Tell them that we prefer peace, but we're prepared for war. Tell them that we offer friendship to any species willing to live in peace. Morrison added, and tell them that if they choose aggression, they will face consequences they cannot imagine. The alien commanders were quiet for a long time. Finally, Thaxel spoke. Admiral Phillips, Captain Morrison, we came here expecting to find weak primitives to enslave. Instead, we found something we did not expect. What's that? Morrison asked. Mercy, wisdom, honor. Thaxel's voice was filled with emotion. We have learned much today, not just about your technology, but about your character. We will carry your message to our leaders. Good, Phillips said. But remember, this mercy comes with conditions. If Zephyrian ships attack human vessels again, there will be no second chances. If your empire threatens our allies, we will respond with force. Do you understand? We understand, all the alien commanders said together. Then go, Morrison said. Go home. Think about what you've learned, and choose wisely. One by one, the alien ships turned and began moving away from human space. Commander. Thaxel was the last to leave. Before his ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, he sent one final message. Thank you for showing us a better way. As the alien ships disappeared into the distance, Admiral Phillips turned to Captain Morrison. Think they'll listen? Morrison watched the empty space where the aliens had been. Some will. Others won't. But at least now they know what they're facing if they choose wrong. The USS Defiance and its escort fleet turned toward home, carrying with them the knowledge that humanity had passed its first great test among the stars. They had shown strength when threatened, mercy when victorious, and wisdom in both.